I'd like to welcome you all on behalf of the Par-Troy Council of PTAs to our annual Board of Ed Candidates Night. We'd like to thank all of our candidates for offering to give up their time to our children and our district. I'd also like to thank Sandy Gersick for moderating our evening this evening. And without further ado, we're going to get started and she'll go over some more of the guidelines. Thank you so much.
Welcome. As Liz said, I'm Sandy Gersick, and I'm pleased to be here tonight moderating. I'm a trained moderator from the Morris County PTAs and have had the opportunity to moderate in districts in Morris County. Tonight we have 4 candidates for the Board of Education. There are 3 openings that are each for a 3-year term at no salary. Tonight it's to learn about their background and their viewpoints. It is not a debate among the candidates, nor a debate between the audience and the candidates. To keep the integrity of this evening, we ask that if you have not already, please silence your cell phone. Our format for this evening will be as follows. Each candidate will have 3 minutes for an opening statement, and they were asked to include the following: how many Board of Ed meetings they have attended, if they have children in the school district, if they have a relative working for this or any school district, and if they have a personal affiliation to any union that would preclude them from voting. We have a timekeeper for them that will notify them when they have 30 seconds left, and they will receive a red card when time to speak is up. Once the red card is held up, they can finish that sentence only. After all candidates have replied, if any candidate would like, they will have 1 additional minute. Following the opening remarks, candidates will respond to questions from the audience. Candidates will answer questions from Parsippany residents only. Any resident interested in questioning the candidates will be asked to write their question up front, and they will be given a number. Following opening statements, I will randomly draw the numbers. Whoever's number is called may ask their question without a substitution of readers, please. This is to be done in the interest of fairness and any time constraints. Questioners must state their name and address. Be brief and to the point in your question. This is not an opportunity for you to give your own opinion. You may address your question to specific candidates or all candidates. Candidates will then have 2 minutes to respond to those questions. After we finish the question and answer period, each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. The candidates are seated in front of you, starting at your far left in ballot order. That is the order we will begin for opening statements, and throughout the night we will begin who starts each question. So without further ado, the question they were asked to address in their opening statement is that the PTA recognizes that a Board of Education member has an educational responsibility to our students and a fiscal responsibility to the taxpayers. With this statement in mind, what would your priorities be as a member of the Board of Education? So Matt, we're going to start with you, please.
Good evening. My name is Matt DeVito. I'm resident of Parsippany since December 2014. And I previously lived in Lake Hiawatha from 2001 to 2009. I feel it is necessary for a board member to be fiscally responsible for the educational needs of our children in our community. I'm determined that the academic needs of our students come first, and that the needs need to be balanced with staying within the budgetary guidelines of the district. I'm aware there are parts of the budget that are contractual and that they do not allow for a great degree of flexibility, but I do believe we can do better. One of the reasons we moved back to Parsippany was that we enjoyed living here, and we felt we wanted good ratings. We looked at the good ratings of the schools here. My wife and I have 3 children, ages 11, 6, and 6, attending Brooklawn and Intervale. My wife Christine is a public school teacher for 17 years in East Orange, so we do know the value of public education and education as a whole. I also have a first cousin who is currently a teacher in Lake Hiawatha, and also my older sister has been a teacher for 20 plus years with the Essex County Regional Services Commission. I'm employed as a network engineer for 18 years with a financial services company, and I do feel that today's children need a good grasp of modern technology to further all other academic goals. This year I've attended 4 official board meetings. In addition, I've been reading the minutes for several other meetings from this past year that I did not attend, which I was able to bring to the board's attention that several of those meeting minutes were missing from the district website, which they quickly rectified and had them available. One of my main reasons for running for the board this year was part of the do with the budget and how the reading and writing program was eliminated from the budget for this year, which laid off several teachers and basically shrunk the number of periods from 9 down to 8. So I would thought that was removing the reading program would be a detrimental effect to the students in the schools. My additional concern with that was the fact that back in the 2015-2016 school year, there was a major scheduling problem when they moved from 8 periods to 9 periods, and those middle school students had no schedule for at least several weeks. I am active in intramural sports, coaching with both the Parsippany Soccer Club and the Par-Troy West Little League, so I do see the value of extracurricular activities to supplement our children's academic education, whether it is funded by the district or not. Lastly, I just want to point out I'm not affiliated with any union personally, but I just like to point out that my son's T-ball team was sponsored by the PTA each day.
Thank you, Matt. Tim?
Good evening. I would like to thank the Parsippany Troy Hills Councils of PTA for organizing this event, all the parents, families, and friends for taking the time out of their busy schedule to be here with us this evening. I am a proud Parsippany resident of more than 27 years, and my wife Kathleen is a lifelong Parsippany resident. Kathleen has been a teacher for 30 years in the Livingston School District and a member of the NJEA. If re-elected, I will follow the advice of the Parsippany Board of Education Council regarding matters where one might perceive a conflict. Since August of 2014, I have been an active Board of Education member. I have attended every single board meeting since 2012. As a Board of Education member, I feel that I bring important experiences with me regarding educational responsibilities to our students. My wife, brother, sister are all educators, along with my daughter, a 2014 Parsippany High School graduate who is studying English education at the College of the College of New Jersey, and is planning to become a teacher. As you can see, education has been and will continue to be a responsibility that I hold in high regard. I have a clear vested interest in the education of Parsippany children. My wife and my 2 children have gone through the Parsippany school system, and I currently have a junior at Parsippany High School. The questions you have asked to be answered, one of my priorities would be to keep the money in the classroom. I believe in Parsippany teachers and in giving them the tools they need to achieve success with our children. I am currently serving on the district's committee to complete the next phase of the district's strategic plan. My participation on the first part of the strategic plan is, which is stated, our districts will create an innovative and rigorous education experience in a borderless learning community that produces creative students who are problem solvers and self-directed individuals. School safety is another priority. My goal would be to enhance our current shared services agreement with the township. The safety of our students and the staff is the utmost concern. We need parents and other taxpayers to be stakeholders in our schools. A priority would be to continue to build a sense of community and transparency. All taxpayers would benefit from great schools.
Thank you, Tim. George?
Good evening, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is George Blair. I also want to take this opportunity to thank the Par-Troy Council of PTAs for hosting this event. This is the 3rd time that I have had the pleasure of being here, and I always look forward to participating. I have lived in Parsippany for the last 15 years. I'm a retired school teacher and basketball coach. I'm married to Dr. Diane Brown Blair, who is a retired Rutgers University professor. We have a 19-year-old daughter, Rochelle, who was educated by this school district. She now attends Howard University, Washington, D.C., where she is a member of the Division I soccer team. My wife has taught at 3 universities. I have taught at 3 high schools and 2 universities. And I mention this because I want to stress my family's belief in the importance of education. As an experienced educator, I know how education can affect people's lives. I have seen some of the best and worst school districts in this country. As a result, I know something about education and educating young people. I believe strongly that a Board of Education member, I should be an advocate for the student first. I have been a member of the Board of Education since 2015. Prior to being elected to the board, I attended well over 20 board meetings. It has been a most enjoyable time serving this wonderful community. All of us, Tim, Andy, and my other board members, since we've been on the board, our contributions to the progress of this school district have been numerous. However, we are most effective as school board members because we are focused on the big picture of improving student achievement and self-worth. We will continue to work to ensure that the Board of Education maintains this focus. We will continue to work hard to ensure that the Board of Education develop goals for enhanced student achievement and positive self-esteem. We will continue to rally our community around student achievement and self-advocacy. We will use all of our resources in conjunction with these goals. We will make sure that we use our funds wisely and that they fit the point of what we're trying to do in terms of student achievement and self-positive images of our students.
Thank you, George. Andy?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Chapo. Thank you to the Par-Troy Council of PTAs for sponsoring this event and to Sandy for serving as moderator. This is my 9th year as a board member, and it's been an honor to serve the community. My daughter Stephanie is a graduate of CCM. My son AJ is a junior at Parsippany Hills. And my lovely wife Nancy, hello, is a paraprofessional at Intervale School. I'm not personally affiliated with any union and have attended all but 4 or 5 board meetings over the past 3 years. So the question is about priorities. What should we focus on? The answer is simple, yet extremely complicated. But I do know it takes experience, knowledge, and common sense to ensure the board is focusing on the right things. We must ensure we are educating students who can be successful after they graduate and go on to college or to a career. This must be our focus, and I commit to you that it will be mine. As my mentor and friend, Dr. Frank Calabria, once told me, Andy, if you make a decision that's in the best interest of the students, you will never be wrong. And he was oh so right. Priorities and goals. Well, one way to ensure we achieve our goals is to have a plan. This board did create a strategic plan to help us envision what the future should be for our children. We created that strategic plan, are finalizing it, and will begin implementation in 2018. We also created a new district mission statement that is forward-thinking and inclusive. And it's hard to get to where you want to go without a plan. And I am proud that this board had the vision and courage to think strategically. We're now looking ahead to the year 2022 to ensure we have the resources today and in the future so that our children continue to excel. Technology seems like an important thing to have to enhance student achievement. And we provide students with iPads and Chromebooks. Our buildings are connected to Wi-Fi. Teachers have the latest academic technology at their disposal. And district administration can evaluate academic programs. But all of this technology is worthless if it fails to improve the student learning experience. That's why I supported reinstating the district technology director position so that we can be assured we are using the appropriate technology and our students and staff know how to use it. Let me talk about school finances for a moment. I'm very grateful to the community that is supportive and generous with financing the school district, and I take very seriously the trust that the community puts in me to ensure our tax dollars are spent wisely. When I was elected to the board in 2014, the district's finances were not in good shape. A former superintendent's aggressive expansion of staff and unwise decisions regarding middle school curriculum and scheduling and facility projects left our district in a difficult financial position. It took hard work and some tough decisions to ensure that we put the district back on sound financial footing. We have taken the necessary steps, and this district will return to financial stability. I'll continue to ensure that sound financial decisions are made so we keep money in the classrooms. And I respectfully ask for your support so that I can continue this journey on behalf of the community. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrew. Since you've all completed your opening statement, we will go down and each person has the opportunity to take up to one additional moment or feel free to pass. So Mr. DeVito, we'll start with you.
I'll pass, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barrios?
Thank you. All that I have mentioned in my opening statement and more will require a team of individuals with the courage to be creative and think outside the box. This can only be done with an administration that is not threatened by the school board and a school board that is not threatened by the administration. We, the parents and the children of the Parsippany, need an independent voice and an unbiased listener. I believe that I have been that voice and that listener for the past 3 years, and I will continue that role if re-elected to the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Blair?
We have had a lot of accomplishments since we have been on the board. Not just the three of us, but our entire board. The most important area in my mind is the fact that in the 5 years that I've been around this board, the teamwork and camaraderie is the best I've ever seen. I often use the term that the team with the best morale usually wins. The morale of this board is outstanding. With the selection of Dr. Sargent as our new superintendent, the morale throughout our district is soaring. I predict great things are in store for the students of Parsippany. I encourage you all to vote 2, 3, 4 so we can continue the progress that we've made.
Thank you, Mr. Blair. Mr. Chaffo?
Just a moment, Sandy, thank you. Just to echo on what both George and Tim said, in the 9 years I've served on the board, I've seen boards that function very well together and some that maybe could have used a little work in the group dynamics area. And to really echo what George said, this is one of the best boards collectively that I've had the privilege to serve on. Every member who is there is there for altruistic reasons. They are there to really serve this community. And I think we are just beginning to see the momentum of having the district in a position where it can continue to achieve great things. I'm thrilled that we have an outstanding administration in place and would welcome the opportunity to continue to work with the district for the next 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chaffo. We're now going to open it up to questions from the public. We will be pulling the questions from our pool here. If you have a question and haven't had the opportunity to fill out a paper, please come down to the front, write out your name and your question, and sign a release for video on the go. Questions can be asked to one candidate or multiple candidates, as well as to the whole panel. So our first question is from Liz. If you want to come down and again state your name and address and your question.
Liz Cadian, 150 Janelle Boulevard, Parsippany. Okay, the question I have is, how important do you think a child's social interaction is in the education of our children? And that's for all.
Perfect. Thank you, Liz. Mr. Barrios, we're going to start with you, please.
Thank you, Liz, for that question. It's absolutely important and vital. I think the socialization with one's peers, and also given an environment that they feel safe in, that they can excel, be innovative, all leads into those items that will embody the whole student experience. So, if re-elected, as a board member, that would be a major goal of mine as part of the strategic plan, is to enhance those technical aspects that broaden the whole picture for the student in their classroom experience, in their school experience, which is, in my opinion, very vital to what we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barrios.
Thank you for that question, Liz. I'm a strong believer in socialization as far as education is concerned. There have been some studies that I've read that indicate that students learn better when they feel comfortable in a classroom, when they feel as though that they're getting along with their other classmates, and when they're getting along with their teachers and other people within the school system. I think it is very important that as a result of a good socialization situation, kids develop very good images of themselves. And the better that image is, the better they learn. So I think socialization as far as a school situation is concerned is utmost important.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Boyer. Mr. Chaffo.
Liz, thanks for the question. I think the school district bears responsibility in a number of areas where it concerns our students. Physical safety, emotional growth, social growth, their mental health. I think we all have a responsibility to that. And I'd like to say, I think with the Parsippany School District, safety, not just safety of the buildings and keeping people physically safe, but providing an environment where kids want to come and they know that they're in a safe environment. I think that's an entry-level requirement for learning to take place. And I'd say the district does a very good job in providing opportunities for kids from the elementary school up through middle school and even to high school. We have peer groups, we have student council, we have various clubs and activities, we have athletics, and even after 12 years of being in the school district, we cap it off with Project Graduation. So I think we really do foster a community within Parsippany that goes from K through 12.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Chaffo. Mr. DeVito?
Thank you for your question, Liz. What I can relate to about that particular question is what my children are going through right now. I have two kids in the elementary school, and what I see them, what they see every day with them with their school, and I see that the anti-bullying campaign that they promote year-round to keep them all, being able to be respectful of one another, and also the fact that there's a lot of extracurricular activities that the PTA sponsors and other activities outside of the PTA that they're involved in that help them socialize better with each other, whether it's another extracurricular sport that's even outside of the district's purview, but still, I find it very important.
Great. Thank you, Mr. DeVito. Our next question is from Anya.
Anya Scheifel, 14 Fox Chase Drive. What do each of you feel are the district's greatest capital needs right now? And how do you think those needs should be addressed?
Thank you. George, we're going to start with you for this question, please.
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is that we need to make sure that all of our schools have air conditioning. We need to make sure that all of our plumbing scenarios are working properly. We need to make sure that all of our bathrooms and locker rooms and anything where the students gather are working properly and they look good. I'm a firm believer in making sure that wherever it is that you are, it looks good. If you look at some of the professional football teams, I remember years ago, especially with the Eagles, they used to have mismatched uniforms. But now they all look very, very professional. Everybody's got on the same outfit. And I'm just using that in terms of making sure that our buildings look the same way. Our buildings, I looked at West Orange. Look at that facility. It's a great facility. And they don't have the same sort of capitalization that we do. We're working on it. We think very strongly about improving the appearance of all of our buildings. But the most important thing at this particular point is we need to make sure that all of our schools have air conditioning. And in addition to that, but we need to make sure that nobody can get into our buildings unless we know who's coming in there. And that's a big capitalization project that we're talking about, okay?
Thank you, George. Andy?
Thank you. It's a great question. So back quite a few years ago, I was part of the board when a $48 million referendum was passed. And, again, we were blessed that the public allowed us to spend that money. And we improved 7 schools, both high schools, both middle schools, and 3 elementary schools. And I think that went a long way to address a lot of the chronic or systemic issues that you get when you have 14 buildings that are about 50+ years old. In addition, Mr. Blair mentioned air conditioning. I think that's a way to go. Most of our schools are air conditioned, but we do need to see what else is required to provide air conditioning for the others. We have a number of capital projects that we fund in the budget each year. This year and the next couple of years, the capital projects will be scaled back. As I mentioned in my opening statement, I think previous superintendent did not do the district justice with some of the expenses that they made. So we've had to take a step back. We've had to limit some capital projects to only what's required to maintain the buildings in functioning order. As many of you know, we do have a 5-year facilities plan that we update every year, so we're always looking at the next 5 years in terms of what we want to improve on in the district. And as the 18, 19, and future budgets become developed, this board is well aware of the need for capital expenditures, and as we regain our financial stability, we will again provide the necessary resources to ensure our schools are operating effectively and efficiently.
Thank you, Andy. Matt?
Thank you, Anya, for the question. I do echo Mr. Blair and Mr. Chapo's statements about the air conditioning. I think this is kind of important to bring up. Also, would like to bring up the water testing that we keep continually doing to make sure the water is safe for the children to drink. That's kind of very important, along with a safety perspective as well as the capital improvements, making sure that those piping is good. One thing from my own experience, seeing different schools in the district lately, is some of the grounds, where some of the playgrounds and just the grass areas that the children play in, some of the grounds are kind of uneven and rocks protruding and such. So for safety reasons, I think some of those could probably do some improvements.
Excellent. Thank you, Matt. Tim?
Thank you, Anya, for that question. It has been my privilege to be, up until this year, part of the Buildings and Grounds Committee for the schools. And what I can tell you is that we ask every meeting, every year as a group, what can we be doing different? What needs to be addressed? We try to take a proactive role. I think as you saw with the water testing, that was a proactive measure by the district. So we were not reacting to something that happened. I also believe that the air conditioners, one of the things that sometimes gets lost a little bit is that over the last 3+ years that I've been on the board, we actually got air conditioners installed into the grade schools. So it's not happening as fast as I personally would like to see it, but I want to say that it's happening. I know there is a study currently going on for the middle schools and the high school. All that being said, it obviously all takes money, and that's part of being fiscally responsible. What can be done, what needs to be done, looking at our 5-year plan, as a team, talking about the things that we need to work on, and talking to our administrators. The administrators are telling us that this needs to be done. Last year we had 2 boilers that went all of a sudden unplanned. Boilers are expensive. We were told, we reacted, we did what we had to do. Some other things didn't get done. We were not happy about it, but that doesn't mean we stopped. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Our next question comes from Yvette Maglio.
Baglio, 31 Green Hill Road, Parsippany. My question is for all of you, but mostly for those that are currently on the board. I really want to hear your opinion on this. We have many programs for our gifted students and many programs for our special needs students. My greatest concern in this district, and has been for many years, is our students that fall in the middle of those two. What have you done and what do you plan on doing moving forward to help these students that fall into the middle of those two categories to excel and to do better, because the current programs are just not working?
Thank you, Yvette. Mr. Chaffo, we're going to start with you.
Thank you, Yvette. That's a great question. You're right. We do have some targeted programs for gifted and talented. We have GROW. We have special education classes throughout the district. But I think it's that vast majority of the kids that fall somewhere in between that you're concerned about. I do think the district has programs in place for them. Just the basic academic program, I'd say, is an outstanding program that engages all students regardless of their learning ability. But one of the things I'm encouraged by is our use of technology to really look at a student's ability to learn, down to the student level, not just a class or a grade level at any of the given schools. But various programs like Link It that we can leverage in conjunction with the teacher to really target an individual student's needs. So we can determine, based on their SGOs, where they are in the learning cycle, we can ensure that the teacher then has the proper information to, again, not just address the class, but address a particular student. And I think those are the kinds of programs that in the future we address that vast majority of the kids who do fall in the demographic where you're stating. We have some work to do with testing. Our PARC test scores are pretty good. I know PARC is a dirty word to many people, but it is right now the standard for the state of New Jersey. So when I look to things like PARC scores, it's another measure that we can then put resources to ensure that our kids are learning what we want them to learn as a community, but also what they need to learn to be successful in the state tests. So I would say that we do have a number of programs in place. I think the technology that we're going to leverage or begin to leverage with the current administration will allow us to do even more and even better with that group of children. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chaffo. Mr. DeVito?
Thank you, Yvette, for your question. It's a very good question, because my thinking on that is really, it's more of an administrative thing for the administration of the district to kind of bring down to the teachers, to give them ideas more than necessarily a program, to give them more ideas of being able to, a greater, what's the word I'm looking for? I'll defer my question. I can't remember what I wanted to say. Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Barrios?
Thank you, Yvette, for that question. We have some awesome professional educators in this district, and we do, I want to say that in sessions that I'm involved in, about the conversations about all of our students, and it is looked at as the whole, the goal is always to achieve higher. And as relates to, one of the items that we did with the strategic plan, and the planning is that we didn't do it in a box. We actually sat and met with the community and said, okay, community, what is he looking for? And we took that information, and it was a wealth of information. It was great information. And we said, okay, now that we have this information, how do we go forward? And we are now in that process of building the roadmap that will get us further beyond where we are today. Being a father of 3 daughters, one at junior high, I am very pleased with the education that my daughter has been receiving. Which is not to say that there isn't always room for improvement, and I think that every member on the board who has a role in that strive for that improvement. We're always looking to make it better, and we're always trying to measure. We just had the pleasure of having a presentation last board meeting in which we saw the test scores and saw some of the improvements, and it was wonderful. You know, not there yet, but it was a nice improvement, and we were happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barrios. Mr. Blair?
I'm sorry, what's your name again?
Yvette.
Yvette, I'm a member of the Teaching and Learning Committee, and that very same question came up in one of our meetings, I guess about 3 meetings ago. The other 2 members of that committee are grow parents. Both of their kids are grow kids. We asked the question, well, what about the other kids? So I think we talked about this some time ago too. And as a result, one of the programs that they're offering to the grow kids, they're also offering to all of the other kids as well, which is supposed to enhance their learning capabilities. I'm with you. I mean, we're all with you. We all understand that all of our kids have got to receive an education. But I want you to keep in mind that 96% of our kids go on to college. Now, 29% of them go to a community college, but the majority of our kids, 96% of our kids that graduate from Parsippany Hills High School or Parsippany High School go on to college. So we're doing something right. But I agree with you. We all agree with you that there's more that we can do for the people that are in the middle. And believe me, we are trying. This Teaching and Learning Committee is a fabulous committee. Dr. Jeff Cherney is probably one of the best education people that I've ever been around. He is really student-oriented, and he really tries to come up with programs that fit all of the kids. Hope that answers your question.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Blair. Our next question comes from Anya.
This question is for all of you. In your view, what has the district done well over the last 5 years? And then conversely, what has the district done poorly that you would change?
Thank you, Anya. Matt, we're going to start with you.
I think what I brought up in my opening statement had to do with what's most poorly. Just going to start with that one first. Was the elimination of the reading writing program, and also the expansion of the periods from 8 to 9. Expansion periods from 8 to 9, and the schedule was messed up in middle schools for like 3 weeks, or at least several weeks. As far as what the best thing I've done, I'm still learning about what's going on, from day to day. And I'm still very pleased with how the schools are run in the district, from what I've seen from my own children.
Excellent. Thank you, Matt. Tim?
Thank you, Anya. Well, on the positives, one of the things that we were able to do is we helped put the district back on a secure financial footing. That was very important from where we were several years ago. We also stabilized the district, the operation. We hired an interim superintendent, and then we were very pleased to hire a permanent superintendent. So all that was I would call a positive. And we improved the district's facilities by addressing the needs of the emergent issues like the boilers and roof replacements. We did a whole series of roof replacements. And so those were on some of the positives. On some of the not so positives, I think that although we've made much improvement, communication is always needs to be there. And I think that we have goals and really good people working on that. I think our facilities management, although we're challenged with finances, we're still working hard to make sure that we keep our facilities up. I mean, this is our town. We want our schools looking good, and we want our kids going into a safe environment. And I think, I don't want to call it a negative, but I think that we would like to do more than we did, but we're getting there, and I'm excited about the next couple of years, is the school safety. I mean, we've done a lot. We need to do more. And so it's not negative, but it's one of those things where it's incomplete in my mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. George?
Well, the most positive thing that comes to my mind, actually is two things. Number one was the spirit of core that we started to have with the board. I don't know whether any of you are around then, but I'm sure most of your faces are very familiar. 3 or 4 years ago, you come to a board meeting, you bring your helmet, because it was going to be a rough time. But now we get along very well. Our leader is fantastic. The other thing that I think that we did outstanding as far as the board is concerned was this new superintendent of ours is, no grass grows under her feet. She is going to be magnificent. She is doing a great job for us. That is one of the best things that we ever did. I don't know how to say this, but I guess I'm just going to say it, is that 3 years ago, when I first got on the board, there was all kind of chaos in terms of one of our hiring decisions. That's all I'm going to say. That was one of the negatives of what we've done. But positively, the hiring of our new superintendent and the spirit of core and the morale that we have on the board right now is fantastic. Okay?
Thank you, George. Andy?
Thank you, Sandy. So I'm going to answer your second question first about what the board did poorly. I'd say two things come to mind. District finances, certainly, because it has caused us to really look at district operations and make some tough choices over the last year and a half. And quite frankly, in my 9 years on the board, I have never seen the district get so wrong the middle school schedule. I mean, there were many nights where we would sit here and at the Hills, and the room would be filled, and people were not there to say thank you for your good work. And I feel bad for those middle school kids who went through that too, because it could have all been avoided. So those are the two things that given my choice, I would never want to live through again, or put the community through that. So what am I proud of? Tim alluded to it a few times. The strategic plan. I don't think, and I can't remember or have talked to anyone who can remember from the district actually had a 5-year strategic plan at the board level to really guide the district and where it wants to go. I'd say putting us back on sound financial footing, or at least getting us there, is another thing this board is proud of. Restoring faith with the community, parents, students, faculty, staff. I often joke that you can judge how well the board is doing by how many people attend a regular board meeting. And to the extent that there are 2 or 3 people who come, most of the time don't speak, I take it as a sign that things are at least going okay. So, at least that's a gauge that the board is doing something right. And it can't be understated that all the things that the board and the administration do in conjunction with parents and students and our great faculty and staff, we have 2 of the highest performing high schools in the state. U.S. News and World Report just ranked them in 2017 in the top 100. So you have to have all of that together to really make a district run well. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Our next question is from Liz Cadian.
It's you. Oh, okay. It is my room. Okay. Is there any reason any of you can think of that you can't volunteer for the next 3 full years?
And that's to everybody?
Yes.
Perfect. Mr. Barrios, we're going to start this one with you.
No reason that I'm aware of, with one caveat. which is that, as I mentioned, my daughter is a senior at TCNJ, and she is going to be a teacher. And she's going to be a great teacher, I can feel it. Bad talking here. And if her travels come down Parsippany Way, then by law, I would need to resign from the board and have to run again after she was hired. But other than that, there is no reason that I am aware of. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barrios. Mr. Blair?
Well, my daughter also wants to be an elementary school teacher. And hopefully she'll come back here to Parsippany to work. And if that's the case, I'll be glad to resign. Because I know if she teaches in this district, she is going to do an outstanding job and she's going to have a great career. I'm a lot older than I look. And I am thinking about retiring. And when I say I'm already retired, but I'm thinking about maybe going to a warmer climate. I don't know when I'm going to do it, but it all depends on my wife. Every day she wants to do something different. So I'm ready whenever she's ready. Those are the only two reasons why I couldn't serve for 3 years. I will serve for 3 years if those two things play out, but if they don't, I'll be gone.
Thank you, Mr. Blair. Mr. Chaffo?
Liz, thanks for the question. Thankfully, my daughter's not going to be an elementary school teacher, so I don't think that's going to be a concern, at least in terms of resigning from the board. And my son is not old enough yet to graduate college by the time the 3-year term is up. So, you know, barring unforeseen health conditions, no, I don't see any reason why I can't serve the next 3 years.
Thank you, Mr. Chaffo. And Mr. DeVito?
My daughter's only in 6th grade, and she's my oldest. I don't think it's worth any kids right now. But my wife, as I said, is an elementary school teacher. She did apply, I think, when there was hopefully any openings in the district a few years ago. But she's pretty comfortable now where she is in East Orange, believe it or not. So I think she's going to be staying there until she retires.
Thank you, Mr. DeVito. Our next question comes from Sarah Myron.
Sarah Miriam, 18 Wildwood Trail. And my question is, are you at all concerned with the amount of screen time and technology-based learning that goes on in the classroom and throughout the children's day, and just the overexposure to technology? And what do you propose would be needed to maintain a healthy balance between technology and hands-on screen-free learning or more outdoor learning opportunities for our children?
Thank you, Sarah. George, we're going to start this one with you.
Well, that's one of my favorite topics because I call myself a techie. I try to learn the latest technology, especially when it comes to education. And what I've been reading is that technology is booming as far as educating youngsters is concerned. See, a lot of times I always believe that if you can get the human element out of education and just do it, like Uber, they're getting ready to do driverless cars. If you just have, if they can just work on a computer and really, really learn, I think that is really a great way to do things. We have a guy that's one of the best technical guys in the state of New Jersey that works for us. And he comes up with all kinds of ideas. Mr. Sestero and Mr. Barrios, these are both technical guys. And they come up with stuff just absolutely amazing. And if we don't watch out, somebody's going to go to the moon and everybody's going to be left down here because it's just becoming greater and greater every day. I think eventually they will figure out the answer to your question from a technical point of view. They will figure out a way that it won't affect the kids as far as screen time is concerned. They'll figure out a way to make this thing work positively. I'm a strong believer in technical.
Thank you, George. Andy?
Sarah, thank you for your question. Well, I'd say technology is here to stay, and I don't know that there's really an ability to reduce screen time. I think the district several years ago embarked on a program to ensure that we did have the appropriate level of technology within the district, iPads for our high school students and now Chromebooks. So I think it is a delicate balance of not only what they're subject to an experience at school, but also, what's allowed at home. Because without good parental and guardian support at home, what we do in the school district really needs that kind of support. But I think in Parsippany, from what I can see, there's a very good balance of technology as well as the human influence in the classroom. Whether you go to a language arts class or to a social studies class, group-based learning with students participating in projects, working together, where they actually have to speak to each other, not just text each other, is an important component of how we deliver education outside of just technology. If you go to a science classroom, there are science labs. So again, it's not just theoretical based on an iPad or a screen. They're actually working with various pieces of equipment to learn the science that they're working on. And again, I'll go back to clubs and athletics. My son is a musician. He would much rather be playing drums than being on any kind of a screen, including television. So to the best of your ability, maybe we can, as parents, help our kids look to activities that just aren't screen-based activities, things that actually get them outdoors or give them a skill other than just the iPad. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Matt?
Thank you, Sarah, for your question. Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with, again, parental involvement a lot of times. I know my sixth grader, she can be on her phone a little too much for me, of course. But I think a lot of it starts at a very young age where the kids are encouraged to read and they want to read more so, to be able to, from a district perspective, be able to encourage them to read more in their own libraries. I guess now they call libraries now media centers, which really, still comes back to the books. If they're encouraged to read paper books, they'll help them try to hopefully stay off the screen a little bit more and be encouraged to read a lot more.
Thank you, Matt. And Tim?
Thank you, Sarah. Every year, when we go down to our school board's meetings down in Atlantic City and you see all these presentations, one event that I always make it my business to sit in is what they call the 21st century classroom. And in watching that and watch some of the innovation that's going on in that classroom, whether it's hands-on, whether it's technology, whether it's working with a classroom across the world, it's breathtaking for me. I do believe there's a happy medium. I do believe, whether you agree or disagree, that technology is here, and that's where we're moving towards. But I also believe that there's a time where we should let our kids get their hands in the dirt a little more and feel the earth. And I can tell you that my daughter, who's a junior here at PHS, she has that opportunity. Our teachers are great managing that balance. So I'm excited with the technology that we use and the tools that we use. And I'm also excited at the fact that my daughter gets to experience some of the stuff that's not necessarily on the computer screen. Well, I will tell you that I'm a little bit of a geek. When I watch the folks in robotics or working on the 3D printer, and they look at the video first, and then they go out and actually put their hands on it and do it, it is cool. And you sit there in awe, and you wish you were 15 again to do it yourself. So I know there's a happy medium there, but I think that things are progressing nicely, and at some point you'll probably be able to see that benefit on your end, I hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. And our final question for the evening will come from Anya.
One more time. Hi again. I'm going to dovetail a little bit from what Yvette had brought up before. The concern is to what degree students in the district are being tracked with their post-secondary readiness. Specifically, more at the high school level, there are a number of stakeholders involved, be it teachers and parents and guidance counselors and whatnot. And I'm interested to know how you feel about how that information is tracked and how that is presented to the board as, you know, in the various forms of measurement.
Thank you. Mr. Chaffo, you'll start this question, please.
Gee, thanks, Sandy.
Hey, I can fairly rotate it.
I'm being very honest. I don't know. I don't know the answer to your question. You know, I do know that the district does track postgraduate students, you know, where they go. You know, George referenced the fact that 96% of our kids go to some sort of post-secondary education. But I could not tell you, in all honesty, the nuts and the bolts behind that, and I'd be lying if I made something up right now. You know, I'd say at our high schools, though, we you know, provide a guidance counselor, we provide career days. I think at the high and certainly at the Hills, the last few weeks we've had various colleges come in to present to the students. So we definitely have the ability to make sure the students are aware of what's out there. Once they leave, again, I wish I could give you that answer, but I don't know.
Thank you, Mr. Chapo. Mr. DeVito?
Yeah, I'll have to defer to my fellow candidates on this one as well.
Thank you, Mr. DeVito. Mr. Barrios?
Thank you, Anya. I also don't want to tell you something that I'm not really sure about as relates to how the tracking is done. What I can tell you is that we do get information to us about how our high school students are doing, and they're going to secondary education or they're going to the military, or that information. We know what levels they are leaving the school with, meaning, you know, statistically where they fit on the chart for grading everything. How many of our students go through and complete a 4-year higher education as opposed to a 2-year, that I couldn't tell you. What I can tell you is that the information that we get formally or informally has always been very positive. But to sit there and give you this absolute answer, I could not. And that would be something that I would definitely like to look into for you, because that's a good question.
Thank you, Mr. Barrios. Mr. Blair?
That is an excellent question. And the reason I say it's an excellent question is because when my daughter was looking at colleges to go to, everywhere we went, and we did a lot of traveling because she was an athlete and she was looking at several different schools. But everywhere we went, the reputation of the Parsippany Troy Hill School District is outstanding in terms of the students that they had at these colleges. I also would like to know what happens, but most of the girls that come home at Christmas time and Thanksgiving, they all seem to be doing well. They all seem to be very happy with the education that they received in this school district. Like I said, 96% of our kids go on to college, which is outstanding. I mean, some of these school districts, 50% of them don't even graduate. But in our district, we're doing something right. And I would like to find out how we're doing as far as college is concerned. But all of the kids that come home and talk about their experiences in college, they seem to be having a great time. And they seem to be doing very, very well as far as their academics are concerned. That's about the best I can tell you.
Thank you, Mr. Blair, and thank you, Anya, for stumping us at the end. I'm sure we'll see that topic on a board agenda and on the Par-Troy Council soon, as you've gotten everybody thinking. Now that we've concluded our question and answer session, we're going to move on to the final summation from each candidate, and as a reminder, we are going back into ballot order. So with that, Matt, if you'd like to start us off.
Thank you. I would like to thank my fellow candidates tonight for participating in this. Also like to thank the Par-Troy Council of PTAs for hosting this event. And also to thank the other current members of the board that are in attendance tonight. I think I could bring a new perspective to the board if I'm elected. I would do my best to weigh the best options allow for academic excellence for our children in our town schools, along with a fiscal responsibility to our taxpayers. Like last year's vote on November 7th, hopefully it will be your first choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Tim?
Thank you. Once again, I would like to thank the Parsippany Troy Hills Council of PTAs for organizing this event, Ms. Giersig for moderating, parents, family, and friends who have attended. Sitting up here before you are 4 wonderful members of the community who are willing to volunteer their time and work hard to make the Parsippany School District a model for others to copy. So why vote for Tim Berrios? I care for our children. I care about our community. I will be fiscally responsible. I believe in Parsippany teachers and giving them the tools in their classrooms to accomplish great things. Politics and partisanship has no place in our schools. I will be an independent voice and an unbiased listener. Thank you for your time, and please support lines 2, 3, and 4. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. George?
Well, I just want to say that the last 3 years of serving on the board has really been a fun time. I don't mean it fun, but I mean I've really enjoyed being a member of the school board. Not only have we become colleagues, but we become friends. And I think that's the most important thing in terms of trying to get anything accomplished. If you work with people and you don't enjoy working with them, you're not going to get much accomplished. As long as we keep our spirit and our togetherness, there is nothing that we can't do as a board. I've ran with these 2 guys before. We have become very dear friends. And I know that each one of them care very deeply about not only their own kids, but every kid that goes to school in this district. I just think that if you vote for 2, 3, and 4, you cannot lose. And your kids will soar. Thank you.
Thank you, George. And Andy?
Oh, that's a good line. Who came up with that?
His initials are AC.
Oh. Well, I want to thank the moderator for, once again, doing an exceptional job at her moderating duties. I want to thank the Par-Troy Council for hosting the event. I want to thank the audience, those who came out to watch us this evening, and certainly my fellow candidates. So 9 years, I've made a lot of decisions on the board. I'd love to tell you that everyone has been stellar. It's been the right thing to do. It hasn't. I've made mistakes. I've made mistakes because I haven't had the right information. I've made mistakes because I wasn't looking forward enough to know what's right. But I'd like to think that the vast majority of the things that I've done and had the pleasure of deciding as a board member were the right things to do. We have created the last 3 years, I think, an outstanding board, and I think we have an outstanding district. As George and Tim said, the 8 other board members that I have the pleasure of serving with, I don't just call them colleagues, I call them friends. We have a relationship where we can pick up a phone, stop over at one another's homes, and talk about just about anything from families to the town. And I really believe that dynamic helps this district move forward. I don't have a hidden agenda. I'm not looking to run for, other political office. I really enjoy doing what I do. I just want to see the kids be successful. I want to make sure the district is financially stable. I never want to have a scheduling debacle again like that, because we can avoid that. And I want to listen to you folks. I want to listen to the administrators. I want to listen to the faculty and staff. And I want to make sure I have the best information when I decide how to set policy and finance for the district. So, as George said, please come out to vote on Tuesday, November 7th for Tim, George, and I. Vote 234, your kids will soar. I get a royalty when I say that.
Thank you, Andy, and thank you all of you gentlemen for making my job very easy tonight. You were all wonderful to work with, but thank you more importantly for putting yourself out there. It is by far a thankless job, as I said before, for anybody listening who is under any kind of misconception. It is a 100% volunteer commitment because you love our children and you love our town. So thank you for that. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Liz.
And I don't have much more to add. I would like to thank Sandy for taking the time like you always have. I really appreciate it for a wonderful evening. Thank you to our candidates. I appreciate you taking the time to answer our questions. It will be on a video on the go so others can see it. And we appreciate your time and wish you all best of luck on Election Day. Thank you.